It all began with a quiet room, the kind where the walls feel closer than they are, and the fluorescent lights buzz louder than they should. Across the table sat a young man, his demeanor unsettlingly calm. When the officer asked his name, he answered without hesitation, J.D. Palmer. There was no need for introductions, they had met before. Palmer's voice carried a strange mix of resignation and detachment, as though the weight of what he had done had yet to settle on his shoulders. When the officer pressed him about their prior encounters, Palmer didn't deny them. Instead, he acknowledged them with a simple, "Yes, sir." Then came the moment of consent. The officer leaned forward, laying out the gravity of what was about to happen, questioning potential self incrimination, the legal implications of every word Palmer was about to say. Still, Palmer agreed. "Yes, sir," he said again, unwavering. There was a tension in the air, a feeling that something far more sinister lay beneath this calm compliance. The officer leaned back, preparing for the storm of revelations that was about to begin.
You said you didn't know, and then you said,
Yes,
and then you,
yeah, that's right.
and then you said, yes, I've already told you, so I
Yes,
might as well. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. And during that talk, do you remember what you told me after I read your Miranda warning to you?
The silence that followed was heavy, almost suffocating, as Palmer's words hung in the air. The officer, sensing the gravity of the moment, pressed on. "You said you were guilty. Guilty of what?" Palmer looked down at the table, as if weighing his next words. Then, in a voice that was eerily calm, he spoke. "I shot him in the head twice." The confession, blunt and chilling in its simplicity, seemed to echo through the small room. It wasn't just the act of murder, it was the casual way Palmer recounted it, as though he were describing an event he had no emotional connection to. "I shot him twice," he repeated, his voice flat. For a moment, time seemed to stretch, the air thick with anticipation. The officer stayed silent, allowing the confession to sink in, but Palmer offered no further explanation, no remorse, just the stark, unsettling fact. In those few words, everything changed. What was once an investigation into a missing person was now something darker, something more terrifying. The confession had begun, and the depth of what Palmer had done was only just beginning to unfold.
Are you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
So you agreeing to talk to me again?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Jared, give me your full name.
Jared Lindruth Wayne Murray.
Okay. And what's your date of birth?
July the 20th, 1994.
Okay. And do you live with your mom and dad? Do you stay with your mom and dad?
No, I live at the dormitories in college. Before then, I lived with my grandparents in town.
With the confession out in the open, the officer's questions shifted. "Where did this happen? Tell me about the place," he asked, his voice low but unwavering. Palmer's gaze drifted as he spoke, his eyes focusing on something far beyond the walls of the interrogation room. It was about 5 miles north of Oklahoma, off a side road, he said, his tone barely more than a whisper. The details came slowly, but they painted a clear image of the scene. He described a quiet, isolated stretch of road tucked away from the world, a place few would find unless they were meant to be there. "It's near the power station, the one with the big slurps," he added, almost as an afterthought. The officer nodded, his mind racing as he connected the dots. The location wasn't just remote, it was close too familiar. Palmer continued, almost matter of factly, "My parents' house isn't far. About half a mile, maybe 3/4. The mention of his parents' house was chilling. The casualness with which he spoke about the murder's proximity to home suggested something far darker and unsettling comfort with the violence he had committed, so close to where he had grown up. There, on that quiet road, in the shadow of the power station, everything came together. The crime was no random act. It was deliberate. It was planned. And Palmer was more than willing to help the officers understand just how deeply the darkness ran.
Room playing video games, sir.
Okay. And do you take any classes with him, or?
No, sir.
Okay. So, you know him through a mutual friend, and you guys dorm in the same dorm,
Yes, sir.
different sections.
Yes, sir. But it's literally right down the hall.
Okay. And so do you spend quite a bit of time together?
No, sir.
No, sir. Okay. The pickup that he was in tonight and you was in, was that his pickup or your pickup?
I'm fairly sure it was his, sir.
Okay, and you remember what kind of pickup that was?
Black.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I don't
you don't know,
know much about cars, so.
but single cab?
Single cab, black,
Okay.
dent on the passenger side.
Okay. And can you go back and tell me how you two got hooked up tonight? Or this is actually, we're talking right now, we're at almost 6 o'clock in the morning, so can you go back and tell me when you guys got together? This would have been,
Maybe around, maybe around 9 o'clock yesterday evening.
so on the 5th.
Yes. Maybe it was closer to 10.
Okay, 9 to 10. And how'd you guys hook up?
I went down to his dorm room and asked if I could be given a ride to Walmart in exchange for $20 gas money.
Okay. And did he agree to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did he in fact take you to Walmart?
Yes, sir. We got in his pickup truck and he drove me to Walmart,
And so
sir.
you're talking about the Walmart in Ada?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's a couple miles from the school?
2.2, no, 1.7 miles, sir.
1.7 miles.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so he took you to Walmart,
Yes, sir.
and did you both go in?
No, we did not go in, sir.
Okay, and why not?
We pulled into the parking lot, then I pulled the weapon on him and demanded that he take me to Asher, Oklahoma, sir.
Okay, and why did all of a sudden did you decide that you needed to go to Asher?
As the interrogation continued, the officer pressed further, wanting to understand the why. "Tell me about the planning," he said, his voice steady but tinged with an undercurrent of curiosity. "When did you decide this was going to happen?" Palmer's eyes seemed to lose focus as he recalled the days leading up to the murder. He wasn't looking at the officer anymore. He was somewhere else, somewhere darker. "It was about 3 days before, when I decided it would be him." The words came with a disturbing ease, as if he had been thinking about this for a long time. He went on to explain how, over the past week, he had carefully observed his victim, noting his social interactions or lack thereof. "He didn't have many friends, no close ones. I figured no one would miss him." Palmer's voice had an almost detached quality as he spoke. "I didn't want to make an impact, not like with someone who had a lot of people around them. With him, his absence wouldn't matter as much. People wouldn't even notice." The cold calculation in his words was chilling. This wasn't a spur of the moment act. It was methodical. Palmer had been watching, waiting, and choosing. He was hunting for the perfect victim, someone whose life could be erased without a ripple. As he spoke, there was no hint of guilt, no emotion, just a logical explanation for a senseless act. His mind had been made up. The victim was an easy target, and Palmer had sealed his fate long before the fatal encounter. It was clear now the murder wasn't just an impulse. It was a premeditated act, carefully planned and executed with precision. Palmer's words only made the whole situation more disturbing. He had chosen his victim not for any personal reason, but because he believed it would be easier to erase his existence from the world.
Because you was raised there,
Yes, sir.
and that's the road that you would travel going back and forth to your mom and dad's house.
No, sir. I would travel the road further to the south of it, just the road one south to it. That's the road I would travel going to my mother's house from the school on my bus route, sir.
Okay, but what I'm saying, you was familiar with that road?
Yes, sir.
and-
Yes, sir.
And where it would go to?
Yes, sir.
Not much traffic on that road at this time, but,
Yes, sir.
I mean-
The only people that go on that road are those that live on that road, sir.
and you knew that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you pulled the gun on him at Walmart, in the parking lot,
Yes, sir.
what did you tell him?
I told him to take me to Asher.
Asher? And did he say anything?
He panicked, went to pull out his phone. I yanked the phone out of his hand, and then he panicked some more, kept telling me not to kill him. To make him feel more comfortable, I unloaded the clip, unloaded the bullet from the chamber, handed them over to him, and that eased his nerves a little. Then I pulled a second clip out of my pocket and set it on my lap.
Okay. And you drove him to, so he drove you?
Yes, sir.
And did you have any conversation between Ada and Asher?
The entire time was a conversation, sir.
And was it basically, what, can you tell me what that conversation was?
About from Ada to halfway to Asher, it was just my trying to reaffirm him that I wasn't going to kill him to calm his nerves. And then from that point on, we was talking on our upbringings, our past, our family histories, things of more philosophical nature, etc., etc.
Okay. And so did he say anything when you had him to pull off of the main highway onto this dirt road?
No, sir.
Okay.
Before this time, I had pulled out his phone and pulled up his GPS and showed him where I lived to make him feel more comfortable, sir.
Okay. And so when you turn west off of 177, and we've already talked about this, there's a substation there.
We didn't pull onto that road, sir. We pulled onto the road to the south of it, drove past Turkey Hill one road, turned left, went to around where the Bows lived, made another left, past Woodhaven Lake Estates, went straight, then went down that road from the other direction.
So you came in from the west side of where the pickup's at?
West heading east, yes.
Okay. And so you're headed east on what is known as Substation Road, which is the road where the pickup
Yes, sir.
is at now.
Yes, sir.
So you're heading east and he's driving.
Yes,
And
sir.
you're on the passenger side. He's got some bullets that you gave him?
He had a clip and one round, yes.
Okay. And where was it at?
In his left hand, sir.
Okay. And you had a gun,
Yes, sir.
and what kind of gun was it?
Springfield Armory XD 40 Smith & Wesson 40 caliber.
Okay. And you had the gun and another magazine, but you didn't have the magazine in the gun.
I did not have the magazine in the gun. Every 5 to 10 minutes he had me put my finger in the hole where the clip goes and show that the round, it wasn't chambered.
Okay. And so you're driving east, and so I guess at some point, did you decide now was the time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what happened?
I loaded the gun quickly, chambered the round quickly, shot once, missed, shot a second time, hit, jumped out of the car, went around. He was driving 10 to 15 miles an hour, so it was rather slow. Ran around the hood of the car, and of course it was slow when he wasn't purposefully driving. Tried to pull him out, couldn't get him out until he already had hit the tree. Pulled him out there, dumped him into the, before I dumped him into the ditch, I heard him gurgling. I'm not sure if that was a physiological or physical process after death, but I thought that he might have still lived through that somehow, because he was gurgling, so I shot him again and then shoved him down in the ditch. I then got his phone.
Okay, hang on, let's back up just a second.
Yes, sir.
You fired the first round.
Yes, sir.
And you missed.
Yes, sir.
Do you know where that round hit?
I believe it hit the top of the door, but it might have hit the window.
Did the window bust?
The window did bust, sir, but I don't remember if that was the first or the second round.
Okay. So you fired once and missed,
Yes, sir.
and you fired a second round.
Yes, sir.
And did you hit him then?
Yes, sir.
And you hit him in the head?
In the side of the head. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it would have been his right hand?
It was around here, sir.
the right-hand side of his head? Or
Yes, sir.
somewhere by the ear?
Yes, sir.
And he kind of started veering off the road?
To the left, sir.
Okay. And that's when you got out and ran around
Yes, sir.
and you opened the door
Yes, sir.
and you tried to pull him out?
Yes, sir.
And so when you shot, and he was still gurgling,
Yes, sir.
so was he setting up when you shot him to hit it again?
No, sir. He was lying down on the ground.
So you pulled him out of the truck,
And just threw him on the ground, and then I heard him gurgling, so I shot him a second time.
and where did you hit him the second time?
I'm not certain, but I believe the head as well.
Okay, the front, back, side,
I believe it was the same side as before.
same side as before?
Yes, sir.
So you think you hit him twice, or you know you've hit him in fact once in the head?
Yes, sir.
And then the second round is probably in the head area too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you rode him down the ditch,
Yes, sir.
and what did you do then?
I grabbed his phone from inside the vehicle. I was going to put it on the ground and shoot it as well, but I have a bit of night blindness and didn't see the steepness of the hill where it started to veer down. So when I threw it down, it slid down the hill and landed screen side down, so I wasn't able to find its location.
Okay. So his phone is somewhere around his body?
Yes, it should be.
Okay.
It might be underneath his body.
Okay. And did you do something with the body after that?
Yes, sir. I repositioned it and then tried to cover it, admittedly not well, with leaves, dirts, and stick.
Okay. A stick?
Yes, sir. There was a stick on the side of the hill. I just grabbed everything on the side of the hill and pushed it on top of him.
Okay. Now, when you say a stick, and I was at the scene, I went down there, and you know that.
Yes, sir.
We actually brought you back down there, and had you sat in the car down there, correct? Mm-hmm. And there is a stick, it's about 3 foot long, about inch and a half in diameter.
Yes,
It's
sir.
right across from.
As the interrogation deepened, Palmer's voice became more monotone, almost robotic, as he explained why he had chosen his victim. It wasn't personal, he said, leaning forward slightly. I didn't know him, but I knew nobody would miss him. He paused, his eyes flickering to the side before locking onto the officer's gaze. He didn't have anyone. No close friends, no family nearby, no one who would care enough to notice if he just vanished. The calmness in his tone contrasted sharply with the chilling nature of his words. In Palmer's mind, the decision had been pragmatic, based purely on the victim's perceived social isolation. People like him, they just disappear. Nobody notices. No one asks questions. I needed someone like that. There was no emotion in his voice, no regret or second thoughts. To Palmer, the victim was just a name, nothing more than a pawn in his twisted plan. The absence of connection made the act easier, less complicated. He was an easy target, Palmer concluded, as though justifying his cold calculation. The room grew heavier with each passing second as Palmer shifted in his seat. He was no longer the same detached figure he had been at the beginning. Now his words seemed to unravel the horror of the night. I shot him in the head, he said simply, as though recounting a mundane event. I missed the first time. The officer leaned in, his voice low, encouraging Palmer to continue. What happened next? Palmer didn't flinch. I shot again. This time, I didn't miss. I hit him in the head. The brutal clarity of his description sent a chill through the room. He didn't linger on the struggle or the victim's final moments. Palmer was efficient, methodical. His words were precise, and they didn't need elaboration. He had done it twice without hesitation, without remorse. It was an execution, cold and impersonal, delivered with the same ease one might describe a routine task. The first shot had been a failure, but the second ensured it was over. The victim was no longer a person, he was just another part of Palmer's plan, another step toward completing his twisted mission. What came next was just as chilling as the act itself, Palmer's attempt to erase the evidence. His tone remained disturbingly casual as he described what he had done after the victim's body fell. I pulled him out of the truck, Palmer began, his words slow, deliberate. I dragged him into the ditch, tried to cover him up with dirt and sticks, but it wasn't enough. I had to make sure no one would find him. The details came in pieces, each one more unsettling than the last. He didn't care about the victim anymore, just about hiding the evidence. He repositioned the body, trying to conceal it, using whatever was around him. Dirt, sticks, the landscape itself. It wasn't about respect. It was about vanishing the crime without a trace. I wasn't really thinking about it, he said, almost as an afterthought. I just knew I had to get rid of everything, make sure no one would find him right away. The disturbing calmness in his voice only amplified the horror of the scene he described. The victim wasn't a person to him anymore, just a problem to be buried. Palmer's words were calculated, every action described with chilling indifference. The body, the crime, the plan, it was all part of the same cold narrative. With each detail Palmer revealed, it became clearer. This wasn't just a murder. It was a deliberate, thought-out execution, followed by a calculated effort to cover up his tracks, leaving nothing behind but the chilling aftermath of a crime that almost slipped away unnoticed.
And they were asleep, so there was no answer. So at that point, I decided I should go off on my own.
Okay.
And I got that can of WD-40 and was going.
Where'd you get this can of WD-40 at?
I stole it from his parents.
Okay. Let's back up just a second.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because you said you was at your grandparents'.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How did you get to his parents' house?
He lives on the other side of Asher. I walked.
Okay, when you say the other side of Asher, help me out. East of Asher, west Asher, north, or?
South Asher.
Okay, south of Asher, south of the quick stops?
No, it's in the town, just on the south side.
Okay, you don't know their address?
No, sir.
Okay. So you walked after, I'm just trying to understand this,
Yes,
okay? So you called him from your grandparents' house?
Yes, sir.
And then he tried to call his parents?
Yes, sir.
And no answer?
No answer, sir.
So you got your grandparents' house?
Yes, sir.
And you walked to his mom and dad's house?
Yes, sir.
About how far is that from your grandparents' house?
Not far at all. It's maybe 8 to 9 blocks. I don't know mileage there.
Okay, and you walked to their house?
Yes, sir.
And did you knock on the door, or?
I just got the can of WD-40.
And where was it at?
Outside, sir.
On porch, or
They live in a trailer house, sir. It was to the right of their entryway.
just sitting on the ground, or?
Sitting on top of a milk crate.
Okay, so, but it was in the yard?
Yes,
You
sir.
didn't get out of the vehicle or nothing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so, and why did you get the WD-40?
WD-40 is a solvent. It would help degrade the oils from my fingers and get rid of my fingerprints, sir.
Okay, so you're gonna take this can of WD-40 and go back to the crime scene and use WD-40 on the pickup
Yes, sir.
to try to get rid of your fingerprints?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you do that?
No, sir. When I was on my way back, as opposed to going down the road directly to it, I cut through a forest area there by an abandoned trailer house. And as I was entering the general area of the crime scene, I heard, I believe it was an elderly gentleman cough. I'm not sure who, I'm not sure what. I just left. Because, well, around that area, the man who gave me a ride to town was an elderly gentleman. I concluded he might have went back, and the headlights and the brake lights were still on. I thought he might have went to turn them off, so my battery wouldn't die. And then he saw the, at least the blood, probably the body, though the body wasn't well hidden at all.
Okay. So
That's the conclusion I reached anyways.
you was in the woods,
Yes, sir.
and so you don't really know who it was.
I just heard an elderly gentleman cough.
Could you see the pickup?
No, sir.
Okay. So you couldn't see the pickup,
No, sir.
and So you'd been, were you on the south side of the road in the woods?
Yes, sir.
And so, but you never could see the pickup again or know who was there?
No, sir.
Okay. So what did you do then?
I headed back east instead of south, took a different route to get out of the wooded area, ran into a barbed wire fence, jumped the barbed wire fence, headed south along another barbed wire fence I found next to the highway. Well, you couldn't see the highway, but you could easily hear it, and I could see the substation from there pretty clearly. Headed south along that, came across another barbed wire fence, jumped it, and then headed to where I started out at that abandoned trailer house there. Then walked away, headed north.
Okay, the abandoned trailer house, is it south of the substation?
Yes, it's south of the substation.
And about how far?
Maybe 100 yards.
And you know what side of the road it's on?
West side.
West side? Okay.
It's up the ways a little. It's in you know how trailer houses out in the country, they'll have driveways that lead to them. So I'm not sure if you can see it from the highway or not, and the driveway's run down. I happen to know no one lives there, so I figured that was the perfect vantage point to get to the crime scene again.
Okay. So, did you get back on the highway?
Yes, sir.
And which way did you go?
North, sir.
And what were your intentions when you were walking north?
Canada, sir.
You was going to Canada?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I had hoped that by determining that I was heading south, you went to Asher, you would have known my grandparents' house, and I was hoping that my name would probably show up somewhere in the course of this little thing. I didn't expect it to be found so quickly.
Why didn't you think it would be found so quick?
I didn't think someone would drive down that road. In my original plan,
Okay.
I gave myself maybe 6 to 8 hours to get out of the area. But since it was found so quickly, at least I believed so at the time, I didn't want to revise the plan because I had headed south originally going into town.
Okay.
And I was hoping you'll think that I was heading towards Mexico as it's much closer and probably easier to get past the border.
Okay, and so you was walking north on 177?
Yes, sir.
And what side of the road was you on?
I was on the right side of the road, sir.
Okay, so if you're going...
East side.
East side. And you was walking?
Yes, sir.
And what happened then?
I had tried hitchhiking most of the way because the only way this was going to work, factoring in my belief that y'all found the crime scene, is if someone were to give me a ride there and then. However, that didn't happen. Most of the people were truckers, so they just kept driving. They had a place to go. And then whenever your patrol car was pulling up behind me, I didn't know it was a patrol car. I stuck my thumb out and you was there for the rest.
And that's when that's when me and you first came in contact, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you advised them to get on the ground, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's when I had you put your hands behind your back.
Yes, sir.
And then when I approached you, I asked you, for my safety and your safety, did you have a gun?
Yes, sir.
And you said no.
Yes, sir.
And you remember what else you said?
I might have mentioned the ammunition in my left pocket, sir.
Yes, sir. And then what else?
I'm the one you're looking for.
And at that point, I told you to be quiet. And till I got you, read your rights to you. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. But if you're saying it's correct.
Well, no,
sir.
do you remember that conversation that when you said,
No, sir.
I said, well, hang on just a second,
Yeah, you did say that. Yes, sir.
so I
Yes,
could
sir.
read your rights to you.
Yes, sir.
And I read your rights to you at that point.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I wasn't aware you was telling me to be quiet. I thought you was just saying I need to read your rights.
But I told you, you do remember me saying be quiet for a second?
Yeah, hold on a second.
Yeah, hold on a second.
Something to that effect, yes.
Okay. Okay, Jared, and we've talked about this, and you told me the gun, you left the gun in the pickup.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and me and you've talked, and I've told you that, you know, you've already told us about the homicide.
Yes, sir.
And you told us about shooting them.
Yes, sir.
The gun's not in the truck,
It was in the truck, sir.
and so I need to know where that gun's at.
When I left the scene, it was in the truck, sir.
It was still in the truck.
It was still in the truck, sir.
Where was it at in the truck?
It was, I believe it was on the center console, but it's possible it could have been between the driver's seat and the center console.
Okay, because the center console is pushed up. It's not down.
I don't remember that.
Okay, well, you kept saying it was on the center console, to be on the center console would have to be in the down position, correct?
Yes, sir.
The center console is up. So was it up or down when you was there?
I think it was down, sir.
Okay. So, but your intentions, can I ask you why you'd leave the gun there if you just killed somebody and you was trying to get to Canada?
Because that man pulled up too quickly, sir.
Okay. And was that your gun?
No, sir.
And where did you get that gun from?
I stole it 2 weeks ago from a man named Daniel Davis, 217 North Division Street.
Now where's Division Street?
It's the, if you're going down Old 18 and entering Asher.
What town is it in?
Asher, Oklahoma.
And his name's Daniel Davis?
Yes.
And how did you steal it from his house?
I went into his house. His family and my family are on good terms. I just walked in the door and went back to his mother's room and told her that I had a video game to return to Daniel. Then I went into Daniel's room, put a video game that I brought with me as a way to get into the door, and got the gun.
Okay. And so was it in a box or was it?
Yes, sir. It was in a case.
Okay. And where's the case at?
It's still at his house, sir.
Okay, so you took the gun out of the case?
I took the gun in 2 clips, sir.
Okay.
All the clips.
And was there, so there's just 2?
Yes, sir.
And was there ammunition in them?
Yes, sir. There was 12 rounds in each clip. Since I fired 3 rounds from that one clip, that means there's 9 rounds in it, should be. And the other clip had 11 rounds in it because one was chambered, and the other round was, I unchambered it and handed it to him.
Okay. Now when I brought you in here and we was uncuffing you, was just checking the pockets of your jacket to make sure you didn't have any weapons in your pockets, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I pulled out this can of WD-40 out of your right coat pocket.
Yes, sir.
And in your left coat pocket, there is a purple Crown Royal bag.
Yes, sir.
And I took that out of your pocket.
Yes, sir.
And can you tell me what's in here?
Smith & Wesson .40 caliber round, sir.
And was in part of the rounds that you stole the guns?
No, sir. I bought those 2 or 3 days later off of a friend of mine, sir.
Just that many rounds?
That plus what was in the clip, sir. So there was 12 and 12-24 plus whatever in there.
Okay, no, but you said that there was already, the magazines already had bullets in them.
No, sir. I loaded them with the ammunition I bought, sir.
Okay, so when you stole the gun in the magazines, there was no bullets with it?
No bullets were in it, sir.
Okay, so what was in the 2 magazines?
Nothing, sir.
No.
Oh, as for the ammunition, yes, sir.
And what's in here? You bought off of a friend?
Yes, sir.
And you know his name?
Not off the top of my head, sir.
Does he go to college?
No, sir. I call him a friend, but he's just a guy.
Okay. And where's he from?
Ada, sir.
Okay. Do you know how to get a hold of him, or?
No, sir.
Okay.
It's a guy I know through a guy. I just got the word out I was looking for some ammunition, and then
Okay.
a friend of mine sold it to me, so.
Do you know how many rounds are in here?
No, sir. I believe there is anywhere between 3 to 6, though.
Okay, so it'd be, without pulling them out, there's somewhere between 3 to 6 rounds of .40 caliber ammunition, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your intentions is the gun, when you got her out in Asher after you shot this young man, that the gun was still in the truck
Yes, sir.
and with the magazines?
Yes, sir. One of the magazines. As he was holding one of the other magazine, I believe it fell out of the truck whenever I pushed him out.
Mhm.
I didn't see it in the floorboard before I left because I was trying to gather it all up. But I think he might still have it in his left hand. I know he was holding it in his left hand.
Okay, but
At the crime scene, there were 2
scene
magazines
there
with the
should have
gun.
been the
Yes.
gun, the magazine that was in the gun,
Yes.
the 1 round that you handed him,
Yes.
and then the full magazine
Yes.
that he hit. So we're talking about a total of how many rounds? You said there was both of them had 12 in it?
Yes, sir.
So we should have, you fired 3 rounds, correct?
Yes, sir.
So there should be 21 rounds and 2 magazines there, and a gun.
Yes, sir. Plus, yes, sir. 21 rounds, 2 magazines and a gun.
Okay. All right. And also in your pocket, there was a debit card, MasterCard, that has the name Jared Murphy.
Murray.
Murray. And that's you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is yours?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Jared, I'm going to ask you just to sit here for just a second, and I'll be right back, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Jared, I've got a couple other things I really need to tie down, all right?
Yes, sir.
And I believe you when you're being honest with me. I really do. You've told me stuff that I have no qualms about what you tell me except for a couple of things. I know for a fact you didn't get the WD-40 from the front yard.
You're right. I planned on keeping him out of this, but I did go into his house. He did give it to me, and yeah.
And when you say who, and when you say him, who are you?
The parent of the friend that I called. Shane's father. The stepfather, yes.
And you know his name?
Michael Norris.
Okay. And what did you tell Michael?
I told him about what had happened and asked for his opinion on my next course of action.
Okay, you mean you told him what happened, what do you mean?
The murder. I told him about
So
it.
you told Shane's father about the murder you just did?
Not the specifics, but the general picture, yes.
Okay, can you remember what you told him?
Not exactly, but I mean, I didn't tell him I fired 3 shots, missed 1, shot him in the head. Not all that. I just said that I got a truck, I killed the guy for it, it's in a ditch.
Okay. Did you tell him how you did it?
I don't remember, but I might have.
Okay. And this is really important, and I want you to really think about this, because you said you're trying to keep him out of trouble.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know more than you think I know.
Yes, sir.
So, I'm still got the gun.
Yes, sir.
It's not in the truck.
It was when I left the scene. That was the whole point of him taking me back, so I could get it.
Okay. So he took you back to the scene?
No,
You said you walked?
No. He drove me to the abandoned house that I spoke of, yes.
Okay, so Mr. Norris gave you the count of WD-40,
Yes, sir.
and I believe he probably got that from his bathroom of his house.
I'm not aware of where he got it, but if that's where he says, then yeah.
Okay. And so he drove you from Asher back to
The area of the scene.
just south of where you would turn on Substation Road.
Yes, sir.
And that's where the abandoned trailer house is on the west side.
Yes, sir.
And so you got out of the car and walked up to the abandoned trailer house, down through the woods,
Yes, sir.
and then that's when you heard somebody cough?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There is a note wrote on a piece of paper, like a business card on the passenger side window, stuck on the pickup. The window's up, and there's a note stuck in there. It says, "Come to the house at the end of the road." Did you write that?
No, sir.
Huh?
No, sir.
You didn't write that?
No, sir.
You have any idea how that note could have got there?
No, sir. I don't think anything like that was there whenever I left.
Okay. So is it a possibility that the gentleman,
Yes.
Yeah,
When I was
did
on
you-
the way back into Asher, he had told me that some thieves stole about $1,000 worth of guns of his, and that he was looking for them, and if he found them, he would kill them dead on the side of the road. Then I said $1,000 is a fair amount of money, and he said it didn't matter if it was 50, he doesn't like thieves.
so is it possible that he could have, on his way home, he could have stopped and wrote that note?
Yes, that's a possibility. I won't deny that. Like I said, I thought it might have been him that called the police. I still don't know if it was or not, but I thought it might have been him. He went to turn my lights off and then saw the blood and then called, but if he did write that note, then I don't think he would have called the police.
Okay. I just want to go over a couple of points with you, and then we're going to take another break, okay?
Yes, sir.
And you started this out that you've actually had this on your mind for about 3 weeks,
Yes, sir.
and you just didn't know who,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Or when. Or where. Well, I had a general idea of the area, but that was picked out about a week ago, sir.
You know, was that picked out because of just being familiar with where the
Yes, sir.
surroundings?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so let's go back to our victim, the young man that you killed.
Gennaro.
You just basically picked him out because you thought that nobody would miss him, if I understood what you...
In general, yes, sir.
Okay. And you told me that on the way to, you guys talked from Ada to Asher.
Yes, sir.
About your upbringings.
Yes, sir.
Was your upbringing any different from his?
Yes, sir.
And what was the difference between your upbringing and his?
Nothing major. I mean, we didn't talk on the topic of upbringings for very long. He just said that he was always fat and overweight and got made fun of it, so he had confidence issues. And then I said I had that problem, but that problem stopped in about the 5th grade, so, yeah.
And why did it stop?
The bullies that picked on me, I beat them up.
Okay. And was that at Asher?
Yes.
Okay. So you basically beat him up, not because you just wanted to beat him up, but because they was making fun of you.
To stop them from making fun of me, yes.
Okay, I can understand that. Have you done any other thing that's been violent?
Yes, sir. The mutual friend that I talked about.
Palmer's face remained unchanged as he described his next actions, his voice still calm as ever. After I shot him, I tried to get the truck out of the ditch. I couldn't. The wheels weren't getting any traction. The officer's eyebrows furrowed, sensing the importance of this moment. So you were stuck. Palmer nodded, almost as if he were talking about an inconvenience. Yeah, the truck was stuck. I couldn't get it out, so I left it there. I looked around and saw a car coming, a guy driving down the road. He slowed down. The suspect paused for a moment, seemingly remembering the encounter. I needed a ride, so I asked him if he could take me somewhere just down the road. He didn't seem to question it, just agreed. But even this small moment of luck wouldn't go as planned. Palmer's words became sharper as he spoke of the man's unexpected reaction. I think he had an idea something wasn't right. He didn't ask much, but I could tell. He was looking at me funny. Palmer's voice dropped to a whisper as he recalled the unease in the air. He probably thought something was off. I could tell, but he still gave me a ride, dropped me off. He didn't elaborate on what happened after, but it was clear that the brief interaction had been more than just a simple favor. The man, unknowingly, had played a part in Palmer's escape, however fleeting that escape would be. As the interrogation continued, the officer pushed further, searching for the next layer of Palmer's plan. What did you do after that? How did you try to cover your tracks? Palmer's expression didn't change as he answered, as though it were just another detail in the series of actions. I went to get some WD-40, he said matter-of-factly. I figured it would help get rid of my fingerprints, erase any trace I left behind. The officer listened closely, intrigued by the lack of emotion. Palmer had carefully thought through the need to eliminate evidence, focusing on every detail, however small. I took it from a friend's house, Palmer continued, a bottle of it. I thought I could spray it on the truck, the gun, anything I touched, and wipe it down, get rid of everything. But Palmer's plan was interrupted. When I got back to the scene, things didn't go as planned. I got distracted. I wasn't thinking straight. He paused, his eyes blank, before continuing. I dropped the can while trying to cover things up. It didn't work out like I thought it would. Even in the simplest of plans, Palmer's arrogance became clear. He thought he could simply erase his crimes, but the attempt was just another piece in the unfolding disaster. His efforts to conceal the evidence were as half-baked as his other actions, an attempt to play God without understanding the consequences. The interrogation grew more intense as the officer shifted the focus to Palmer's history. Have you ever been in trouble before? Any other violent incidents? Palmer shifted slightly in his seat, his gaze momentarily darting away before returning to meet the officer's eyes. I've had a few fights, here and there, he admitted, his voice still eerily calm. A couple of incidents, back in college. He seemed to be trying to downplay it, but the officer pressed on. What kind of incidents? Palmer's words grew sharper as he recounted an altercation with his college roommate. One time, he got me in a chokehold during a fight. He said I wasn't going to tap out. I didn't. I passed out. He paused, the memory clearly still vivid in his mind. I punched him after that. He pushed me away, told me to leave. The officer listened intently, sensing a pattern emerging. Palmer didn't seem fazed by the violence. He didn't flinch when describing the events. Instead, he talked about them like they were nothing more than an inconvenience, a minor misunderstanding. And then what happened? The officer asked, not letting up. I spat in his face, Palmer responded, almost as if it were a natural response. I left his room after that. He came to mine later, trying to apologize, but I wasn't having it. There was something chilling about Palmer's casual recounting of violence. It wasn't just that he'd gotten into fights, it was the way he spoke about it. There was no regret, no understanding of the harm done. It was simply an act, like any other, with no deeper reflection. The officer's mind raced, realizing this wasn't the first time Palmer had let his aggression spiral out of control. His violent tendencies were clear, and now they had escalated to something far worse. What began as a pattern of petty violence had evolved into something far more deadly.
And
What kind of grades are you making in college right now?
I believe I failed everything except for choices and wellness, sir.
Are you failing everything but choice?
Yes, sir.
And why is that?
Laziness, I would suppose, sir.
Okay.
Didn't feel like going to classes. I mean, if I was already up in the central area to eat a meal, I'd go to classes. Because it's not like I have a problem going to classes. It's from the dorms to the central area, I was too lazy to travel that distance.
Not because you couldn't do the work.
Not because I couldn't do the work. I was passing most of my classes before then.
And what was your ambitions or your dreams to be?
I had hoped to become a chemist for the Department of Defense.
Kind of hard to do in Canada. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to ask you this, and you can answer if you want. I'm having a hard time.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel any remorse?
I'm sad that I got caught so quickly. But that's almost lessened by being caught by someone who has sheriff on their jacket, so... But for killing them, no.
Okay, so it makes you feel better that, somebody had sheriff on their jacket that arrested you?
Yes, sir.
Opposed to what?
A deputy or someone like that, sir.
Okay, well, I'm not the sheriff.
I'm aware of that.
I'm the undersheriff.
The person driving me up here told me that. But still, it's...
So it makes you feel better that you got caught by somebody up in rank than somebody under
Yes,
you.
sir.
But my question again is, do you have any remorse?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. No, live out here for a minute, okay?
Yes, sir.
Back again, bud. Still doing okay?
Yes, sir. My left thumb's been numb since we got to the crime scene.
Do what?
My left thumb's been numb since we got to the crime scene.
How come?
I don't know. I figured when the cuffs came off, feelings would return to it, but in this area it's still numb.
I probably just need to work it.
Well, I have been.
And rub it. Have you ever been cuffed before?
No, sir.
Okay, so you ain't never been in trouble?
No, sir.
So if I run a record on you, I'm not gonna find anything on you?
You might find that assault from a couple months ago, but that'd be it.
Okay, and that was when you and the other guy in the dorm got into it?
Yes.
About the chokehold?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I take it since you go to college, you probably have a computer, correct?
I have a laptop, sir.
Okay, and it's probably at your dorm?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I know we've talked about this kind of in general, about you didn't know who it was gonna be
Yes,
or
sir.
when it was gonna be, but you kind of knew where.
Yes, sir.
And then you tried this Tuesday night,
Yes, sir.
and then he wasn't there, so he was home. This is now Friday morning, so it'd been Thursday night.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'll talk to you some about, was there gonna be others? And you know, and you made a statement earlier that you was happy that you got caught by somebody in the Vernica statute, the
Yes, sir.
sheriff's office. So then you understand that I'm gonna do my job thorough.
Yes, sir. I understand that completely.
And that means that I'm gonna end up getting a search warrant for your computer.
Yes, sir. I understand that.
And so, if there's I'm on this, searching your computer, we're gonna find anything where you had any ideals of wanting to do a mass shooting in a school,
No, sir.
or you was gonna kill anybody else?
No, sir.
Okay. Why would you want me to believe that this was just gonna be a one-time thing? Since you planned this for 3 weeks, and if by Tuesday night you knew who, and you knew when, but it failed.
Yes, sir.
Tell me why I should believe you that there just was gonna be one person that was gonna suffer from your consequences of killing.
You have no reason to believe me, sir.
I agree, but you're trying to tell me that you're just gonna do it one time and that was gonna be the end of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not gonna find anything on your computer that's gonna be, or when I go to college, when myself and this team from the DA's office goes to the campus, and we talk to everybody that you're associated with in the dorms, nobody's gonna tell us that, well, he's talked about a school shooting or killing
No,
other
sir.
people. I'm not gonna find that?
No, sir.
Okay. So,
That said, I have been asked by people, including at Asher School, if I'm a murderer or ever plan on it, but I've never planned on it since 3 weeks ago, and I've never killed anyone, so the answer's always been no. I've never been sure if it was jokingly or seriously, that said.
okay. I guess I'm just still having a real hard time understanding why. Why him?
Well, if it was a random person, there's the possibility he could have children or something of that nature. If it was someone else up there, they have a lot more friends, they're a lot more social, so...
So, to kind of just by his quota status of not really having many friends or being social, it was a good victim.
His presence would be less noticed, yes.
Okay.
That said, he did have a girlfriend and some friends.
Yeah. You don't think his girlfriend would have missed him?
I wasn't aware of his girlfriend until tonight, sir.
Oh, so he told you before you killed him?
No, the entire way down there, I had him hand me the phone at Walmart. The entire way down there, she was texting him, so I was texting what he told me to text back.
Okay, so there was a conversation between his girlfriend and actually you, but you was texting what he...
Word for word, yes.
Okay. Okay. You don't think she's gonna be upset, heartbroken?
I think she will be, sir.
How'd that make you feel?
No different, sir.
Okay.
As the officer pressed for a deeper understanding of Palmer's motives, he seemed to struggle with the question. His eyes shifted, his words faltering for the first time in the interrogation. Why did you do it? The officer's voice was calm but insistent, waiting for a clearer answer. Palmer hesitated, his expression unreadable. I don't know, he murmured. I guess I did it to strengthen my resolve. The officer's gaze didn't waver. He waited for more, but Palmer's explanation remained vague. I was trying to prove something to myself, maybe, he said slowly, his voice trailing off as if he too was unsure of the answer. It was as though Palmer himself couldn't fully explain what had driven him. There was no anger, no vendetta. His words seemed to suggest that the murder had been some kind of test, an attempt to reaffirm his own will, as though the act itself would somehow solidify his purpose. But the more Palmer spoke, the more it became evident that his motivations were rooted in something deeper, something more sinister. It wasn't about the victim. It wasn't about revenge or a specific cause. It was about him, his need to act, to take control, to prove he could. And even as he spoke, it was clear. Palmer wasn't fully aware of the depth of his own darkness. His motivations were as unclear and unsettled as the crime itself. The officer continued to dig, trying to understand if Palmer had any emotional awareness of the impact his actions had on others. What about the victim's girlfriend? What about his family? For a brief moment, Palmer looked almost perplexed by the question, as though the idea that his actions could affect anyone else seemed irrelevant. I don't know about his girlfriend, he said, shrugging, his voice emotionless. She probably won't be happy, but that's not my concern. There was no hint of guilt, no second thought about the pain his actions would cause. It wasn't even a matter of cold detachment. It was simply that the victims' relationships didn't matter to Palmer. The emotional aftermath, those left behind, was not something that registered on his radar. It's just not my problem, he added, dismissively. People die. It happens. I wasn't thinking about her or anyone else when I did it. I was thinking about what I wanted. The officer was taken aback by the bluntness of Palmer's response. It wasn't just indifference, it was an utter lack of concern. The lives of those who cared about the victim were meaningless to him. His actions were driven by a personal need, and everyone else was simply an afterthought. As the interrogation wound on, Palmer grew more open about the methodical nature of the crime. It wasn't random, he said, his voice steady, as though discussing something trivial. I planned it. The officer leaned forward, his interest piqued. How did you plan it? Palmer's eyes flickered with a brief spark of clarity as he began to
Jared,
explain
I'm about done.
how
You know, get ready to start doing the paperwork.
Yes, sir.
thinking about it.
And, you know, we've been together since
Carefully somewhere.
about 3 this morning. And
I knew no
and
one would come
you've,
around.
I think you've been
His
honest with me. I
words
think
were
you've told me
precise, deliberate,
just straight up,
showing the
right out of the
depth
book,
of the premeditation.
what
I
happened.
scouted
Yes,
the
sir.
area beforehand.
And,
I
you
knew
know, I think
exactly
you,
where I was going. I wanted to be sure
I
nothing.
think you pretty much was right on
There was no
cue on everything you
hesitation
told
now
me.
in Palmer's voice. No
Yes, sir.
doubt.
The only
He had carefully planned.
only thing I caught you in was the WD-40 can.
timing and the
I had
method.
hoped to keep him out of it,
It
sir.
wasn't impulsive.
And I appreciate
It
that.
wasn't a crime of passion.
But,
It was a cold, calculated
you
execution.
know, you've done a terrible thing
carefully
tonight.
crafted in
Yes,
his
sir.
mind long before
You killed a young man.
even
Yes,
knew
sir.
he was in
Just for the
danger.
simple
I
fact
knew
of,
it would be easy to get away with.
I guess pretty much this is safe for
I
you.
thought about it for a while.
Yes, sir.
I had the
And-
time to think it through.
What do you think should happen to
Felt
you?
a shiver run down his spine.
Death sentence,
Palmer
sir.
wasn't just confessing to murder.
And why do you
He
think he
was
deserves
admitting
this
to a
sentence?
An eye for an eye,
well-thought-out
sir.
scheme, a
Did you
calculated
breathe an eye for an
plan
eye?
from
Yes,
a
sir.
dark, meticulous mind. Every step, every movement
All right.
had been premeditated. This
Well,
wasn't
we'll be getting you taken out to the jail
decision.
here shortly,
It was the
okay?
result
Yes, sir.
of cold logic. And the chilling part was that Palmer had expected to get away with it.
Hey, Jared, one more question, just, this ain't got nothing to do with this. Do you know the young man that you shot's cell phone number?
No, sir.
And so, but when he fell in the ditch and you dropped the phone, it fell down in the ditch by the body?
I believe so, sir.
Yeah, can you tell what kind of phone it was?
An iPhone, sir. It had a outside casing around it, but not too thick of one.
Okay. What color was it?
Black.
Okay. You said around it face down, that's why you...
Otherwise, I would have been able to find it. Yes, sir.
Do one more thing for me?
Yes, sir.
Just a history deal, would you just fill that out for me? Just your name, address, city, phone numbers and stuff like that.
All right.
Just kind of...
As the interrogation reached its final stages, the officer pressed Palmer with a question that seemed to linger in the air, heavy with meaning. What do you think should happen to you now? Palmer didn't hesitate. His voice, as calm as it had been throughout, carried a chilling conviction. I deserve the death penalty, he said, his eyes locking with the officer's. The officer's expression remained neutral, but the coldness in Palmer's words struck with brutal clarity. An eye for an eye, he continued, the phrase slipping from his lips as though it were a well-practiced mantra. If I took a life, then my life should be taken. That's how it should be. That's what I deserve. There was no plea for mercy, no attempt to rationalize his actions. Palmer's belief in retribution was unshakable. His acceptance of punishment wasn't born out of regret or fear, but from a twisted sense of justice, his own version of it. I know what I did, Palmer added, the weight of his words hanging in the room. And I don't expect anything less. I deserve to die for what I did. His conviction was unsettling, the cold finality of his belief unsettling in its stark simplicity. There was no remorse, no regret, just a twisted sense of fairness in his own mind. He had taken a life, and in his view, his own life was the price. The officer, still processing the chilling self-awareness of Palmer's statements, turned his focus to one last detail. Tell me about the victim's phone. What happened to it? Palmer's gaze dropped for a moment, his mind seemingly drifting back to that dark night. I took his phone, he said, the words almost too casual, too detached. I was going to use it, to make sure I erased any trace of me. But when I moved the body, I dropped it. He paused, then continued. I didn't want anyone finding it. It would have pointed straight to me. So I dropped it near him, left it there. Figured it'd be lost with him, buried with the rest of the mess. Palmer's tone remained steady, as if he were simply recounting a trivial detail. I tried to cover it up, but it didn't go as planned. I wasn't thinking clearly. The phone might have been the last thing to lead them to me, but I couldn't help it. I left it there. It was part of the mess. The officer nodded, noting how Palmer had tried, unsuccessfully, to destroy evidence, another detail in a growing list of his calculated but flawed attempts to erase his crime. The phone, one of the few things left to connect the victim to his killer, was yet another piece of the puzzle Palmer had underestimated. With each revelation, the layers of Palmer's crime unraveled further, leaving behind a trail of mistakes, lies, and failed attempts to escape accountability. He had believed he could get away with it, but in the end, it was his own arrogance that would seal his fate.
You need. Come on, big guy.
I got some questions about this paperwork.
About what?
I didn't know what to put under investigator, date, earned, hair color, or the bottom line.
Oh, okay. That's no big deal. I'll fill that in.
Well, I didn't even know if that was hair color. I thought it might be hair length, hair color, both. I didn't know.
Okay, that's good. Maybe we just needed the general information on name and all that anyway. I don't see here.